Got a little.
Nicks and bruises. We back to back. I got Tricky Nicky in the house. I got not him in the house. What's going on, fellas?
How you
What's
doing? How
good?
you
What's good?
doing?
I'm good, man. Nice and busy day today. Spending time with my daughter. Got a couple podcasts in. Can't complain. I'm gonna keep this one brief though. I got another engagement at 8 o'clock. Tune into the Queen's Court. She'll be in. Tricky Nicky, I'm gonna mute you for 1 second. Yeah, it's a lot of background noise. I don't know if you could maybe shut
No,
a door or
no. I
something.
I unmuted myself, but you're right. I did that last night when I was on the news show for the love of the game. Yeah, my kids are here, and I apologize about the
No,
noise.
you
So
good.
I'm
You,
gonna be on it now, so you know I'm gonna be muting myself as well.
but what I wanted to talk about today kind of was, of course, Kemba Walker, and is he the best point guard that we've had? I mean, in my opinion, since at least Stephon Marbury. Um, I know Marbury wasn't. I think he's underrated. He's been underrated, especially his time in the Knicks. But you could argue since before Stephon Marbury. But we've been waiting for a point guard, and we finally got one. I even think Kemba's a little bit underrated. I'm gonna leave that for another show though that I have coming up. But what do you think, Nat? He's the best point guard we've had since dot.
Well, I remember seeing Starbury play in the Garden. Um, they're both from New York. I, Walker being from New York, you could say he's the best New York guard to play for New York since Starbury. Yes, but I kind of I like the Derrick Rose last year. He was one of our better point guards. You know, he had improvement player nomination. He had MVP nomination. Derrick Rose after the trade. So I kind of iffy with that. You know, I want to agree with you, but then I could agree with you being New York born point guard. You know what I mean?
I mean,
Yes.
that narrows it down to only him. I guess if you want to argue Sebastian and but no, I think if any, I think Kemba at this point is still better than Rose. Now, granted, Rose at pre-injury Rose, no question. That's not even a conversation. But I think Kemba's undervalued in the league. I think he's gonna show out this year. I think he's gonna prove a lot of guys who he really is, who he's been.
Yeah, and him coming home, you know, like he's from Brooklyn, but him coming home to New York, he
He
also
has he
wants
has
to
an
play in
extra
New York.
motive, and I think he's that good of a player that is going to put New York on his back. You know what I mean? We do need a point guard like that.
That's
You
true.
know, uh, can he put better numbers than Starbury? Probably. Can he take the Knicks further along in the playoffs? Probably. You know what I mean? We got a better. The team is built better, and um, Kemba Walker's not coming in to be the savior like Starbury was. You know what I mean? And Kimber
You know,
Walker's just
I look at
Kimber
Kemba
Walker's
though,
gonna
and
come to
I
play
go,
good rough.
and to Bodega Wi-Fi, your point, Raymond Felton was a straight up legit point guard. But if I'm looking at someone that is better than Kemba that we had in the past, it's got to either be Mark Jackson or Derek Harper. There's nobody. Stephon Marbury, yeah, but he was kind of more of a two guard, in my opinion, when he played with us.
I don't know, man. I think he
We had Crawford.
I mean he had 8 assists seasons.
Jamal
don't.
Crawford though was a shooting guard.
That was a two guard, yes. And I got Jamal Crawford in another argument, but I'll bring that up maybe a little later if I got time to get to it. But
Like
yeah, man.
Derek Harper ran the point position, and I know it's mid '90s, and a lot of Knicks fans ain't gonna realize that. But and then you go Mark Jackson before he got traded to Indiana. If you actually like look at it, we have not had a point guard of Kemba Walker status until now. Like, now, like I'm excited for New York.
I agree. I definitely agree. Kimba, I mean, back to Marbury. Marbury, I think he's undervalued. I mean, I don't want to go into a deep dive over Stefan, but just look at the numbers, and the numbers will tell you all. And Kimber, I think he's New York guy. He's built in that same cloth. He's probably more of a pass first point guard, but that boy could put up buckets, and he could put up buckets in clutch moments.
Yeah, he creates his own shot. Like for Julius Randle, this is a dream come true.
So speaking of Julius Randle, with our two new additions, do you think Randle's still the best player on our team? Oh, I lost my guys.
I think no, you didn't lose me. I block out my background time to time because my kids are here. But yeah, uh, Randall's is number two. We don't have number one yet. We got a lot of number. We got like two twos, and we got a lot of threes and fours. Um, but that's
I mean,
good. We got depth.
somebody's got to be number one on the team, right?
Well, Randall
Or no?
is leadership wise. If you're asking me the question, I'm gonna say yeah, Randall, without a doubt. Like, but even people want to follow Randall. They're also following a guy that ain't gonna take him to that promised land. But he's capable of doing it if you put into the equation of how he's changed the culture of the Knicks. So did Tibbs. So did Rose. So with Randall, with me, no, he'll never be number one, but he's a solid number two we got with number one leadership type skills.
What kind of step would Randle need to take to become a number one option, or is it out of his
No, I don't
realm?
think he has. I honestly don't think he has the talent to be a number one, but I think he has the work ethic and he shows a lot of grit. And I think he's gonna be a number one as a leader, not only like vocally, but I think with his work ethic, you're gonna look at these young guys like Grimes. You're gonna look at Deuce. I don't know about IQ so much, but Obi already has it. Obi wants a spot, but you're gonna look at these guys and they're gonna want to work harder. And so with him being that type of dude, yeah, he might not have the talent, but he has the work ethic. These guys are gonna work just as hard as him. And
So
I
you
think
said
that's where we gonna win with Randall.
we have a bunch of number twos. Who else is a number two
RJ.
on our team? RJ.
RJ Barrett is a number two. Um, that's my only two. If you want to go to threes, I'll give you two threes. And then everybody else is, in my opinion, maybe fours. But my two threes would be and I might get some backlash, but my 3 is Mitch. My other 3 would have to go to Obi. I just see potential in that guy.
So Kimber's not a. Where do you rank Kimber? Where do you rank Fournier? Because
I'm
both Kimber
talking.
and
Okay,
Fournier.
okay, okay. I'm talking about last year's team. Last year's team.
I'm talking about players today.
Now, if you want to talk about today, Kemba and Fournier are solid 2s.
Because what I was gonna say is both Kemba and Fournier led their teams to the playoffs.
Yeah, but
as the best player
I
on
was
the team.
basing. I know. You know what? I kind of
And
sound
you could
stupid, but I'm gonna admit my
argue
fault.
with a lesser team
But
around them.
it was me saying, "Hey, Tony, listen for a second." What I was saying was based off last year's performance. It wasn't based off of who we got now. That was all. Hi, oh my God, the Queen. I'm on with the Queen. Oh my God. Oh God.
Peace Queen, peace Queen. Um, we having a little talk about first off. My first question was Kemba Walker's the best point guard we've had since blank.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think you have to say Marbury. And shout out to you, Tony. And I don't see your name, but shout out to you as well.
Tricky Nicky.
Oh, that's tricky, Nicky. Hello there. I would say, I would say Marbury. And if we're talking about
Oh my
Charlotte
God.
Kemba,
Queen.
I might even say
Hey, Eric's
we
real.
running neck and
No,
neck.
I'm not high, bro. But I will say this: I am high on life right now, just because of being able to talk to the Queen.
Appreciate you. Did we miss anybody other than Marbury? Like, did anybody?
Well, I mean, Tricky Nicky has said he took it past Marbury and said Mark Jackson, but I think he's discrediting. I think he's discrediting Marbury. But I told him, that's a topic for another show. Oh,
And remember, Marbury came in his prime. I mean, it didn't work out with the Knicks, but in terms of talent, he was at the top of his game.
Absolutely. And then, my next question is Randle still the best player on our team?
Tony, you ain't
He
even giving me a
is.
chance to settle in.
He is. Kemba, you can't say Kemba's gonna surpass him. So to me, Randall's still the guy. I'm not saying he's the number 1 guy that we need to have, but he is. He's got to be the best player in our team still, even with Kemba and Evan. Because they just brought in a couple of guys that can help. They didn't bring in anybody. Like if they would have brought in Dame, right? Then you're talking a different, story there. But they didn't do that.
I also think, and shout out to Sim, Jason Kidd was just 1 year, but what about Kidd? That's a good question. Kidd wasn't in his prime. You know what, Tony? It depends on which Kemba we talking about, right? I mean, we haven't seen him yet, so we don't really know. Everything about his knee and his injury is kind of conjecture. I don't think we really know that for sure. If this is Charlotte's Kemba, then I think he's 1A, 1B. If this is Charlotte's Kemba, right? If this is Kemba who's gonna miss a lot of games, maybe play 60 games, doesn't play back to back, then I would say yes, Randle would probably still be our number 1 because he's going to be playing pretty much in every single game. But if Kemba is healthy and he's playing every single game, I think you could toss it. You could. It's a toss up.
Yeah, and that's that's kind of the conversation that I was trying to get to. I didn't want to lead the charge on it. I wanted people's true perspective
Hmm.
because prior to us getting anybody making any moves, I said we don't have to necessarily bring in guys that are better than Randall,
Right.
but
You did say that.
as long as they're at his caliber,
Hmm.
um, I think we could be more successful.
Right.
And I think that's what we did. We got two guys that are at least on his level. They might be better. We don't know, but there is a possibility
I don't know
that
if Fournier would be better. You think Fournier would be
I'm.
better than Randall?
I it's not definitive, but I would not rule it out. And the only reason I say that, I mentioned it a few seconds ago. Both of those teams, both of those guys have led their team to the playoffs. Um, you can argue the teams that they led were lesser caliber teams than the Knicks. Now maybe coaching is, a factor in those arguments
Right. Right.
because I don't know if they were better coach teams.
Right.
Um, so I like to dream. I like to think and put different perspectives on things. So nothing I'm saying is definitive.
Right.
It's more
Right.
for conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's a possibility. Fournier is probably a lesser possibility of being better than Randall, but if I'm gonna play devil's advocate, I mean he led his country to a bronze medal or a
Silver.
silver medal.
Yeah.
Now,
Wow. That's a tough one. Fournier is a tough one for me to say because even when he was leading him, he wasn't all NBA. He wasn't all star. He wasn't just to the eye test playing lights out the way Randall was playing for the Knicks last season.
Right,
Um,
right.
so that one will be hard. I think when we talk about Kemba, we gotta preface that by which Kemba are we talking about? Because if Kemba is healthy, you can argue he's 1A, 1B.
Yeah, no,
But if
Queen,
he's
to your
not,
point.
he could
Queen, to
be the
your
fourth
point.
option in the offense. You know what I mean? He could be our fourth leading scorer if depending on how often he plays. So that's a big question mark. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Picky Nicky.
no, you're fine. To your point, it's like the reason I rated Kemba a number two was because of health. Like, if that dude is healthy and he's playing like he did in Charlotte, like you said, we got a one A, one B guy.
Yeah,
And I agree.
yeah,
I mean, I think it's again he has to be healthy. One, of course, without health, um, it- no, he's not gonna. I mean, he's not gonna be available enough to be the number one,
right.
guy on the team. Um, but I think there is a possibility, especially with his skill set, with his knowledge. I mean, you're talking about a guy who pretty much came into the league and dominated his position.
Yep,
Not number one guy in the league, but amongst those guys.
yep,
You can't, you gotta, and it's wishful thinking for me. You know what I mean? Like as long as, and I believe Tibbs and the coaching staff and the organization, the culture, they're not gonna care about leading scorer or number one guy or whose team this is. I think the fact that they signed extended Randall, I think that helps. You know what I mean? Because now
Yeah,
now there's
yeah.
now that takes away pressure for him to have to earn a new contract with us.
right.
For us
Hold on,
to
hold on though.
wonder how much money he's
With
worth.
Kemba Walker, like if you actually look at the signing with Kemba Walker, if you look at it like in totality, and we're like, oh, we got Kemba Walker. Does he need to be a 1A, a 1B guy? Can he be a 2A or a 2B guy? The thing is we got Rose backing him up. We are point guard, like we have depth, and Deuce surprised me this summer league. Um, but I'm saying Kemba doesn't need to play all these minutes, but and that helps out Derrick Rose so much. Like he can actually come and give us 18 minutes a game and tear it up with effort and be energized. Um, I'm sorry about my kids in the background, but I love my kids. Sorry. But anyhow, like with that effort with getting Kemba and how deep we are at that spot.
I mean,
I mean, like I don't.
everybody. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry, I
I
thought you
mean,
were
it's
finished.
no. I am done in a second. It's like honestly, like we got two of the best greats. I mean, Derrick Rose was an MVP, right?
He
I know
was.
they're
Yeah.
getting older. Kemba's getting older, but you put those two guys together, it's a legit starting MVP, in my opinion.
I mean, health
Yeah.
health is gonna be key.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah. They have to be. They have to be healthy because I can't say I feel very comfortable with if any of those guys are out for an extended period of time. Um, I probably would feel most comfortable with IQ. McBride is a rookie. Burke is not a playmaker, in my opinion. He could definitely, I'm talking about the difference between just having somebody out there and having somebody out there that's going to run the offense and, you know, um, get people in their spots and tell somebody who did miss 5 shots, I'm not passing you the ball right now. Let's get somebody else involved. Um, that's my only concern. That to me, that third point guard is really, really, really important on this team.
I'll tell you how good I think Kemba can be. I think Kemba could dominate a game and score 10 points. I think that's how good of a facilitator he is when he's in his bag. And it's not even about that's what he's trying to do. He does what the defense dictates.
Right,
Um, and then on the flip side, he could dominate the game scoring and not necessarily facilitating.
right.
Um, I just hope we got him at tip top shape. Where we're not concerned with injury and load management. And then to Tricky's point, I think
If
and
we're not
yours.
concerned about load management, it's over. I mean, if Kemba Walker is Kemba Walker,
mm, But here's the beauty of it.
mhm,
If he's at his best, at his max, then we could rely on Derrick Rose for 18 minutes. You know
right,
what I mean?
right,
Where now we're talking no drop off.
right,
And yeah, we're still gonna need that third point guard. I agree, but the third point guard can be point guard by committee. You know what I mean? Because that's not now we're not relying on
right,
one particular guy. You
right.
know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
We're
yeah,
looking
yeah,
for
yeah.
good minutes
Right.
for certain guys in certain at this position for a certain amount of minutes a game.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that I think it could pan out very very
If
well.
Kemba is healthy, I'm not concerned about the third point guard at all. Like how many teams have that type of depth? The only reason I'm concerned about it is because both of them have injury histories. Other than that, I would not be concerned about a third point guard.
No, I
Hey,
hear you.
stop, Queen. Oh my God, I just want to say this, Tricky Niggy. Uh, like I never thought I'd be able to talk to you, but I just want to say I love what you do. Like
Appreciate you.
you, the real deal. Like your knowledge like overwhelms me. Um, but I also just wanted to be real quick and say like good night, salute. Thank you, Tony Crow, for allowing me on.
Queen's
Appreciate you.
Court at 8 o'clock. Put the kids to bed early and join us.
No, 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 no. I gotta let my kids have fun. Um, but I love you guys. I'm here for you. I support everything you do,
Appreciate
and
you.
I just want to say, get me some Eddie C on. Get me some. We need to get CT on this show. We need to get
Yeah.
CT on Nothing But Nicks. We need to get all these dudes on so I can see
Hey,
them because I
hey,
miss them.
Tricky. I just did my episode with CT about a
I
couple hours
know,
ago.
and it's
And
making
he'll
me
be back.
sad because
He'll be back.
I haven't seen him in forever since Man left, and I'm like, oh my god, there he is, and like I just really respect like his opinions and what he says, and you know, I disagree a lot of times. I like to do that, but but I love you guys, Queen. Thank you.
Appreciate
It's
you.
so great to meet you. Thank you,
Same
Tony
here.
Crow, for that opportunity. And
No
I'm
doubt.
gonna be in the chat. You guys have a great night. I'll still be there watching, though.
No
All
I
doubt.
right.
just got
Salute.
my
Appreciate you.
kids to take care of. Good night.
Appreciate you. Good night.
Appreciate you, bro. That was very nice. Salute to Tricky Nicky in the chat.
Yeah, that was very nice.
And if you guys didn't see, I did my episode with CT Nixon Bruises, episode 19.
Nice.
Check that out. Live from Australia, my guy. Um, appreciated him. CT, shout out to you. Back to this discussion. So you definitely think Randall is still our number one guy. Do you think someone else could step up into that role?
I think so. I think Kemba would be the guy. Listen, Randall's coming off an all-star, all NBA season, and I believe that he still feels like he has something to prove. It's funny though, because me and other Knick fans is really concerned about the playoff. Not everybody, but his performance in the playoff. And I was listening to NBA radio with Kamala and Cam, is it Kamala? Um, Cam and AD Antonio, AD who played for San Antonio, the guard who played for San
Antonio
Antonio,
Daniels.
Antonio Daniels. And a Knick fan called in and said, because they were saying who has the most to prove, and they were talking about Embiid and Simmons and all of that. And a Knick fan came in and said, Julius Randle. Julius Randle has to prove that he's not a one-trick pony. He has to prove this, he has to prove that. And they disagreed with us. They said, tough crowd. They said, first of all, Randall is not a one-trick pony, and he's not. That part I didn't agree with. But he said, listen, part of it in the playoffs was the team he had around him and not really having a lot of, those guys didn't play well. And that was true. But some of it was Randall himself too, just kind of looking like, what's going on. But I say that to say that there are a lot of people around the country that are very high on Randall and kind of feel like, okay, he didn't play well in the playoffs. So what? It happens to the best of them, and that's it, you know? So I would say I still see Randall as our number one. I think Kemba is the only one, and somebody could surprise me with that type of talent who can come in and take that from Randall. He's the only one that I see that has that type of ability to be that guy, because he was that guy in Charlotte, so he did it before for more than 1 year, right? So we still, want to see if Randall can do it again. Kemba has done it multiple times, right? So he would be the only one I would think in the running.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I stand by my comment that I put Fournier in that, not as much, but I put him in that opportunity situation. I think he could do it as well. Um, do you think that needs to be a number one guy? Do you think the committee, the team as a whole, could get it done? Similar to, I hate to bring it up again, but that Detroit team. I don't
Yeah,
think.
Tony,
I don't think they have a superstar driven.
that's a very, very good point that you bring up. And that's exactly how I see this team. Actually, that's perfect. That's actually perfect. I mean, you knew Rip, was the guy, but then you could also argue, but Chauncey was the guy. He was more important than Rip, even though Rip was the leading scorer. And then somebody else could come in and say, yeah, but if you didn't have Ben playing that defense, anchoring that so I definitely see this team um in that mold. No doubt about it.
Hey, I go even further and be like, you know, Tayshaun Prince
Yeah,
without that glue guy, that multi positional defensive guy, you know, where would
yeah,
they be?
yeah.
And then the grittiness and that fight and that fire from Rashid. Like, so, I mean,
Yeah, do
you
we
could
have that
literally
guy?
say,
I think, do we
uh,
have that guy?
I
You,
mean,
go ahead.
that's a great question. That's a great question. I don't off the top of my head, probably not. Um, Taj would maybe be the closest one to it.
Would be the closest. I was looking at, and we'll talk about this on the Queen's Court, 8 o'clock, my peoples. Um, Looking at that Miami roster, you look at Butler, you look at PJ Tucker. They brought in Markeith Morris. I don't know if he's as tough as I think so, though. I think so. They brought in
He
Mark. Go ahead.
same
That
mentality
same mentality,
of his brother.
right? Um, I wish we had one of those guys. I think if Marcus was back on this team, it would be perfect. It would be perfect because he's one of them guys. Um, but maybe somebody will surprise us.
Yeah, because I mean, you don't necessarily want that from Randle.
Right,
You know what I mean? We want you safe. We don't want
right,
you risking
right,
ejections and technicals and suspensions. You know
right,
what I
right,
mean?
right, right, right.
Um, Man, that's a great question, Steph. Like even if we don't definitively have them, who could fit in that role? You know what I mean? Who could grow into that mold? And I mean, I guess really Taj is the only guy that I could see, and maybe he could teach it. You know, maybe he could put the battery in somebody's back. Um,
Yeah, I think you need that. Like, remember the Atlanta series when there was two incidents where that would not have gone down on the 90s Knicks with Mace and Oak. And that's when I think it was Hurt, I'm not sure who it was, pulled Noel's leg, up from under him. Even Noel got up and was like,
mhm.
don't do that or whatever. It wasn't as fiery as I thought he would be, given that he could have gotten injured. And then the incident with somebody out of bounds, and then Randle during the next play kind of pushed him or what have you. But they would have took care of that right then and there, when it happened. So
Do you remember what game that was with Noel?
I don't remember. It was the playoff game, but I don't remember in Atlanta. I want to say it was in Atlanta too.
So game 3 or 4.
Yeah, he kind of
Because
picked his foot up and,
I know the play.
yeah.
The reason I asked what game it was is because, well, let me ask the question: do you think things of that nature, plays of that nature, um, and the reaction after something like that happens, do you think that can affect a series or even just the game?
I think so. Like
Eh,
I think it can change the energy of a game. Like something like that happens, your teammates, somebody comes and pushes Herder, and then they have to separate, the bench. I think it does send a message like that's not happening here. It's not happening here, and it can change the tenor of a game and even the tenor of a series. I've seen it. People can
and
say, you know what, this game changed or this series changed when this happened. So yeah, it could.
oh, shout out to G Man, Sergeant G Man, aka G Man for life. Um, the reason I asked that is because when you mentioned that, the first thing that came to my mind was remember the Knicks playoff series? We had Tim Thomas, and he had that altercation with Kenyon Martin, the hard foul. Um, Tim Thomas was going up for a dunk, and Martin, he was one of those throwbacks. You're not getting
You're
a
not
dunk.
getting that here.
Yeah, and hard foul, like he could have hurt him. And I remember how disheartening. It's actually one of my nicks and bruises. But I remember how disheartening it was because the energy of the team, they didn't come to his defense. They barely came to help him up.
Mm.
And it felt like Kenyon Martin took our heart. You know what I mean? Like I hated that moment. Like, and that was like one of those first times I'm like, yo, the '90 Knicks, the team that I grew to love, they wouldn't have done it. You know what I mean? You would not have been able to foul somebody that hard and there not be some type of repercussion.
As soon as you turned around, somebody would have been right in your face.
Right in your face. And Kenyon Martin had the tough guy mentality. But do you remember that play, that incident?
I don't remember the play.
It went on for. I don't think they speak to this day. You know what I mean? Like, it went on
who Kenyon and
Tim Thomas.
Okay.
Remember the Fugazi
okay,
New York Times headline because Kenyon Martin called him a Fugazi thug or Fugazi tough guy.
Right,
but I felt like that play right there, we lost the series. You know what I mean? So just the play off of what you were saying, like, who is that guy on our team?
Who is that guy?
And we need it because even when Randle reacted, was that in Noel's defense?
No, that was a different play. Somebody got fouled really hard on the baseline. I forgot who it was, and nobody did anything. And I think that's why Derrick Rose kind of looked at Randle like, now.
I don't even think it was now. I think he just didn't agree with it.
Period.
But even that instant, I don't want Randle to be that guy. You're too valuable for us to be that guy. You know what I mean? And not to say someone else is less valuable,
right?
Because Rashid was pretty valuable too, but that's just who he was.
That's who we need. We need a Rasheed Wallace on this team, a Marcus Morris, because even that Butler Miami game when Butler was saying, I don't know if he was trying to intimidate RJ, and I think later on I don't think it came out that it wasn't that big a deal, but it doesn't matter. It looked like it was, and that's how those 90 Knicks was. It looked, we're going to get in your face now, and then we can explain, oh, okay, all right. It looked like A, but okay, come to find out it was B. But they're not going to wait, to see that, it wasn't a big deal.
And I'm gonna get off soon. I know we got to jump on yours. But that's one of the reasons I love Butler, man, because even with that situation, it ended up becoming a teaching moment for RJ.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where you could visibly see him explaining, no, don't. This is what you do. You don't do that.
Right.
And he don't have. That's not your teammate. There's no reason for you to do that. And, and you can only respect the guy that does that, especially on the court. Right. In the game, that just shows how much respect he has for RJ and just the type of player he is. You know what I mean? Hence why he was one of those guys that I wanted, because I think he's just built for New York.
No doubt.
But apparently he's built for Miami too.
He is. All right.
Queen, I appreciate you getting on. I'll be right behind you. I'm
all right.
Check on my daughter real quick. Shout out to the chat. Your Blackest Time.
Queens Court, 8:00 or maybe 8:05. See y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Salute. Thank you guys. Thank you for joining me. Peace.